He was a bright African boy, eagerly showing his farmer father his latest invention. He quickly removed the batteries from the radio, yet the sound continued to play clearly. His father's weathered eyes filled with astonishment. The boy immediately explained it was wind power, spinning blades that generated electricity. If they could use larger blades, they could drive a water pump to draw groundwater for irrigating their fields. That would finally break the back of this endless drought. But there was a catch. They'd need to dismantle his father's only prized possession, his bicycle, to use as part of the generator. His father listened calmly at first, then exploded, ridiculing his son's idea as absurd fantasy. How could this kid think a broken windmill could solve a drought that had stumped generations? The hurt boy shot back, "Because I know things you don't, because I've been to school." Those words set off his uneducated father completely. He grabbed his son and threw him to the ground, then smashed his creation to pieces. "I was wrong about you," his father raged. "It's time you learned to farm. Get up and plow the field." His father's words pierced his heart like bullets, leaving him helpless as tears streamed down his face. Was he destined to waste his life in these hopeless fields? Yet William obeyed. Before sunrise each day, he swung his hoe in the fields, but he couldn't let go of his thirst for knowledge. In his spare time, William repaired radios for neighbors, learning how electronics worked. The noise often woke his sleeping father, but seeing his son's passion, his father never scolded him. Instead, he'd take the radio and walk the fields alone, studying the unpredictable weather. The extreme climate brought either months of relentless rain or scorching sun that withered the crops. The corn from this land was the family's only income source. As the drought worsened, corn yields plummeted and their savings ran dry. Even so, his father scraped together enough for William's first semester of middle school tuition. This unexpected gift transformed that day's harsh words into a warm embrace. Soon, William walked to school in his crisp new uniform, his steps light with joy, passing through dappled forest paths to the dusty schoolyard. Whether under blazing sun or sudden downpours, nothing dampened his hunger for knowledge. But as soon as the bell rang, his science teacher pulled William aside, demanding the remaining $80 in tuition within a week, or he'd be expelled from class. Happy moments are always fleeting. The hope in his eyes dimmed. His first exam scores were disappointing. Determined to catch up, he studied tirelessly after school each evening. But the fading twilight wasn't enough to read by, like distant starlight that couldn't illuminate his dark future. His mother told him they could no longer afford kerosene for the lamp. Watching his father toil in the rain-soaked fields, it seemed poverty was destined to block his path. But William refused to give up. To keep learning, he and his friend visited the village dump daily, searching for treasure. In the tobacco company's discarded waste, William always found something useful. This time, after hours of searching, he only found a water pump and a dead lead-acid battery. Nothing to help him study at night. Disappointed, William returned to the village just as the chief was holding a meeting. The tobacco company wanted to buy the last of the local trees for $15 a ton to fuel their tobacco dryers. The chief insisted these trees were their last defense against floods and sandstorms. They couldn't be cut down. William's father strongly agreed, firmly opposing the plan. But some villagers, thinking only of immediate gain, ignored the long-term consequences and started signing up. Their peer pressure swayed others. Despite the chief and father's pleas, they could only watch as the flood-blocking trees fell in what was once a hopeful forest. The fleeing birds carried away their former beauty. The howling wind brought endless sorrow. Dark clouds on the horizon obscured their future. Though William felt helpless anger, there was nothing he could do. He went to the bad kids' hangout to listen to the ball game with his friends, trying to ease his anxiety. Just as the game reached its peak moment, the radio died. Everyone turned to William, the radio repair guy. He sprinted home through the darkness, grabbed every dead battery in the house, and rushed back through light rain to the hideout. William didn't disappoint. He connected all the dead batteries in series, positive to negative, explaining as he worked, then inserted them into the radio. It sprang to life. William became a hero to all the kids. After the game, heading home in pouring rain, William unexpectedly saw his sister on a date with the science teacher. In their backward village, this was deeply shameful. Not only would it make her the butt of everyone's jokes, it would disgrace the whole family. William decided to teach the teacher a lesson. The next day, he and his friend planned to slash the teacher's bike tire. But just as he was about to act, William hesitated. His friend suggested stealing the bike light instead. That would warn the teacher and give William a light to study by at night. This time William didn't hesitate, but after struggling with it, the light wouldn't budge. Following the wire, he discovered it wasn't connected to a battery at all, but to a silver device on the wheel. He told his friend to spin the tire fast. As it rotated and rubbed against the device, a faint light gradually appeared, illuminating not just the darkness, but his dimming hopes. That night, William overheard his parents worrying about money outside his bedroom door. Poor harvests had drained their savings completely, so they'd have to sacrifice his tuition to survive. The next day, William was called out by the principal for not paying his tuition and permanently expelled from class. The light in his eyes went out. His frustration poured down with the storm clouds. Drifting white clouds carried away his dreams, and raging floods swept away his youthful aspirations. He stood frozen, as if time had stopped. His future seemed to drown in the rain-flooded fields. Without trees to block it, the rain grew more savage, gathering into countless streams that mercilessly swamped the farmland. His father, covered in mud, desperately dug drainage ditches in the storm. But against nature's fury, all efforts seemed futile. Helpless, he could only look apologetically at his mother. Yet their cursed life allowed no turning point. The rainstorm finally stopped, only to be replaced by scorching sun. Months of blazing heat left the new corn seedlings lifeless and drooping. Things couldn't continue like this. Desperate, his father rode his only bicycle across endless, desolate plains, through dingy, cramped villages, over muddy, crisscrossing fields, finally finding his friend who worked for the government. But his friend couldn't help. Instead, he told William's father to prepare for a nationwide famine. His father immediately went to the chief, hoping he could tell the president about their dire situation when he came to the village campaigning for votes. To prevent a repeat of the starvation 20 years ago, the chief agreed to his father's request. Now the family survived on meager cornmeal, praying the president's visit would change their tragic fate. But William believed fate was in your own hands. He vowed to make his dreams a reality. So he spent his days digging through the dump for treasures. Finally, a dead car battery gave him an idea. If he connected all the dead batteries together, positive to negative, he could make one useful battery. Connected to the water pump, it could draw groundwater to irrigate the fields. But the battery needed constant charging, a steady supply of electricity. How to generate that power became William's biggest challenge. So he put on his uniform and snuck into school when the principal wasn't looking. He found the science teacher and asked bluntly why his bike light worked when the wheel turned. The teacher explained it was a dynamo, but couldn't explain exactly how it worked or how to make one. He suggested William check the library, but William had been expelled. He had no right to enter. Thinking fast, William threatened to expose the teacher's relationship with his sister. The teacher reluctantly vouched for William to access the library. With the librarian's help, William quickly found a book on energy utilization. He was instantly captivated, immersed in a sea of knowledge. In his free time, he either pondered how tornadoes worked on the plains or searched the dump for valuable materials. 2 weeks later, the president finally arrived in this poor, drought-stricken land amid much fanfare. As the crowd cheered enthusiastically, the chief was invited to speak as their representative. The shrewd chief started with flattery, praising the president's glorious achievements. The president seemed quite pleased with the compliments. Then suddenly, the chief changed course, speaking about the merciless natural disaster and the people's helplessness, begging the president to provide emergency grain to help them survive the drought. But these well-meaning words touched a nerve. Before the chief could finish, the president signaled his bodyguards to remove him. They beat the elderly chief brutally, warning him about his nonsense. William and his father rushed forward to help, only to be met with warning shots. All the villagers scattered. The president sped away in his luxury car under guard, leaving the chief collapsed helplessly on the ground, barely alive. His father finally understood how dark the world was. Only self-reliance could change their lives. So early the next morning, he took his family to harvest what corn they could. The harsh weather and barren soil yielded only a pitiful small pile, nowhere near enough to sustain the family. With no other choice, his father replaced their tin roof with thatch and sold the tin at the market. But skyrocketing grain prices hit them like a sledgehammer. Even selling everything wouldn't get them through this famine. Just then, the radio reported the government denying any disaster. The fury his father had been bottling up exploded. Despite his wife and daughter's pleas, he insisted on joining the protest march. He would soon regret this impulsive decision. After his father left, William went straight to school. To speed up his research, he told the librarian his idea directly. If he could charge a battery with a windmill, he could power a water pump to draw water and easily solve the drought problem. But without the dynamo from the science teacher's bike, it was impossible. The librarian was amazed by William's bold idea and encouraged him to find the teacher. But they didn't know he'd already quit. Now he was trying to convince William's sister to elope with him. She firmly refused. William had put his ideas on paper, hoping to convince the teacher. But instead, he ran into the stern principal. William buried his head in his desk in shame, but the principal spotted him in the corner immediately. The principal furiously berated William. "You're stealing every student's education. You're stealing every teacher's knowledge. You've been expelled. You're never allowed to study here or at any school in this city again. Take your things and get out." Though William begged desperately, the principal coldly threw him out. The librarian pleaded for William, but it didn't soften the principal's cold heart. William stood alone in the endless drought-stricken land, his grand dreams growing hazier beneath drifting sand. Even the scorching sun couldn't warm his frozen heart, but his mother's comfort behind him was his last ray of warmth, giving him the strength to keep going. Finally, under public pressure, the government brought 2 trucks of cheap grain to ease the disaster. All the villagers rushed to buy some. His mother gave William what little money they had left and sent him on his father's bicycle to get grain. But by the time William arrived, the first truck was already empty. The remaining villagers, fearing they'd miss out, shoved desperately toward the grain truck. The scene descended into chaos. William squeezed through thanks to his small size, getting in at the last moment. He successfully bought 15 kilograms of corn, but the villagers outside were like zombies. If he stepped out, they'd rob him clean. Weak and small, William could only sit in the truck with his corn, waiting for the crowd to disperse. Meanwhile, his father, on his way to the protest, witnessed people killing each other over scraps of food. He suddenly thought of his vulnerable wife and children at home. He urgently told the driver to turn back, but it was already too late. Villagers had already broken into William's home, not only stealing the cornmeal from his sister's arms, but also looting the corn they'd recently harvested. His mother sat on the ground, crying helplessly. The 15 kilograms William struggled to buy became the family's last food supply. His father counted their remaining savings. Even selling everything would only buy them 1 meal a day. His mother suggested dinner, since you can't sleep on an empty stomach. William suggested breakfast, otherwise they'd have no energy to work. His sister couldn't take it anymore and stormed out. She kept blaming their father. If he hadn't insisted on protesting, they wouldn't face the threat of rape or murder. Their mother slapped her angrily. "Your father is trying to save us. You think I'd let you starve? When I cut off my own arm to feed you, you'll know you're my child." Her mother's words made tears stream down her sister's face. She finally understood that no matter how the world changed, their parents' love never would. The morning sun rose early, painting the sky red. The real famine was just beginning. William, trying to catch birds in the fields, couldn't spot a single one. Desperate to change their situation, William found his sister late one night. He hoped she could borrow the science teacher's dynamo. He shared his grand vision with her. Seeing William's determined eyes, his sister fell into deep thought. Her heart finally made a difficult choice. When William returned from chopping wood the next day, he found his mother crying outside and his father pacing frantically. His sister had eloped with the science teacher to reduce the burden on the family, leaving only a letter telling them not to search for her. This way there'd be one less mouth to feed. William sadly entered his sister's room and found the dynamo he'd been dreaming of on her worn wooden table. His guilt toward his sister deepened. His angry mother dragged William to the principal, accusing the school's teacher of running off with her daughter. The guilty principal's attitude softened considerably. He promised the school would do everything to find the teacher and offered William free access to the library. Finally, William could walk into the library openly. The light of hope illuminated every book. The former librarian had already resigned, but the battery she'd fixed for William still sat on the desk. William gathered all the relevant books and eagerly told his friends his plan. Some said it was impossible, but most believed in him. They had no better options. So everyone pitched in. Some baked the blades, some cleaned copper wire, and William connected the circuits. Through their collaboration, a small windmill took shape before their eyes. The moment they opened the door, fierce winds rushed in, and the windmill spun successfully with the flying sand. The radio miraculously came to life as the windmill turned. Everyone danced with joy, but only William knew the road ahead was still uncertain. Yet his friends were full of energy now. They tirelessly searched the dump for needed materials. By sunset, they returned happily loaded with supplies. But among all the parts, they were missing one crucial gear. His father's precious bicycle was undoubtedly the key to solving this problem. So William demonstrated his invention to his father and shared his idea. But when his father heard about dismantling the bicycle, he set William's painstaking work ablaze. Hearing this, William's friends started packing to flee the famine. But with food shortages nationwide, where could they go? Finally, after William's persistent persuasion, they decided to forcibly take the bicycle from his father. So the group confronted his father aggressively, demanding he hand over the bike. But his father simply raised his hoe. Everyone scattered in fear, leaving only William standing there helplessly watching his father. The scorching sun continued baking the earth, flying sand constantly demonstrating life's fragility. The once joyful school path was now lined with fresh graves. Even their faithful dog had starved to death. William's heart was filled only with endless sorrow and helplessness. Unable to bear seeing her son so defeated, his mother angrily vented her frustrations to his father. Her words finally awakened the stubborn man. He realized true happiness never comes from heaven. Only by taking fate into your own hands can you change your life and protect everything you love. So his father rode to find William. He apologized for his ignorance and stubbornness, but William said he'd never blamed his father. It was his father's persistence that gave him the chance to go to school. Seeing his son's determined eyes, his father finally let go of his prejudice. All barriers between father and son dissolved as they dismantled the bicycle together. William immediately threw himself into intense work. His father chopped trees energetically for the windmill's frame. Hearing about it, villagers rushed over to help. They raised the heavy, tall frame together, working in coordination to secure every crossbeam. Finally, they lowered the pipe bit by bit into the deep well. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the windmill's final assembly was completed. William carefully connected every wire, then slowly unwound the wire binding the blades. The windmill lived up to their hopes, spinning in the wind. It spun people's hopes for life and lifted the poor boy's shirt and future. As the dynamo generated electricity through constant friction, current flowed through wires to the water pump. People dug ditches and channels, waiting for water to arrive, until a sound full of hope interrupted their work. His father embraced William excitedly. This vibrant source of life didn't just flow into the parched earth, it awakened people's dying hope. His father's weathered eyes filled with pride for William. Flowers bloomed and fell, clouds rolled and unfurled. A touch of new green broke through what was once barren, drought-stricken soil. It brought not just hope for survival, but the promise of an approaching harvest. Because of his windmill invention, William not only got into a top high school, but also earned a full scholarship and graduated successfully. He went on to earn a degree in environmental science from Dartmouth College in the United States. This true story shows us that knowledge is the best path to changing one's destiny, and poverty cannot block the road forward. Life always comes with hardship, and fate may not be fair. But believe that flowers blooming in the desert are the most vibrant, and places that become scars are the strongest. There's no frost so harsh it can't be overcome, no spring that won't arrive. As long as you hold on to what you love, suffering will turn to sweetness, and desperate situations will find new life. When that time comes, take your youthful courage and bet on never backing down. Carry your passionate sincerity forward, as generous and genuine as always, because I believe the wind rises from beside the youth.